Hello everybody, I'm a dreaming witch, and today I will be discussing my top 5 favorite herbs to use in my personal witchcraft, the ways that they are commonly used, their magical keywords, and lastly I will be giving a couple book suggestions on researching the magical uses of herbs in case any of you want to continue learning about the magical uses of other herbs. So if you're new here, hello, I'm Marie, a dreaming witch. I'm an artist and I have been practicing witchcraft and tarot for the past 4 years. My goal here is to craft a community centered around spiritual and witchy discussions, holistic healing, self-growth, and eventually create some behind-the-scenes videos of my personal craft, including like some art creations and whatnot. So, introduction aside, let's hop into it. The herbs that I will be discussing today are lavender, cinnamon, nettle, mugwort, and rose petals. And if you see me looking down, it's because I have notes in front of me to make sure I don't miss anything. But a quick disclaimer about working with herbs is to please make sure that you are being mindful of any allergies that you have, any interactions that these herbs have. Just a quick Google search can help you figure that out, and consider if you're going to be putting it on your skin, if you're going to be burning it. Also consider your furry animals, if you have pets, how the smoke or the herbs may interact with them. Just do like a quick Google search will get you right usually. So yeah, let's hop into it. So the first herb that I'd like to discuss today is lavender. And you've probably seen lavender in a lot of self-care products, bath salts, lotions, little sprays. It is usually marketed for muscle aches, like relieving muscle aches, or just relieving tension in the body and overall relaxing you before bed. So it's actually pretty similarly used in magic. The keywords for lavender's magical uses are love, protection, purification, sleep, relaxation, happiness, peace, healing, and intuition and awareness. So, some examples of common uses of lavender in magic could be to light a lavender incense, whenever you're doing shadow work, whenever you're doing healing work, whenever you're just needing some kind of help cleansing out the tougher emotions or anxiety that may be lingering around after like having an emotional time or working through some heavy emotions. You could also add lavender to a spiritual bath for the same kind of reasons, but more so to cleanse your own personal energy. So like the incense would be really good for like kind of clearing the entire space, and a bath would be really good for cleansing like your own energetic bubble. And you can also add it under your pillow in like a little baggie. You could get like a loose tea bag, or I think I have some right here. Like one of these kind of little bags. You might want to make sure it's like a tight mesh depending on the kind of herb you're using in it, so it doesn't like spill everywhere. Or put it in a jar in the baggie and put it under your pillow to help promote like a peaceful sleep, and also to help you receive messages in your dreams if that's something that you're interested in doing. Yeah. So my personal favorite ways to use lavender in my witchcraft are, first of all, to add it to a simmer pot. I really like to just take lavender and pour it into a simmer pot. And if you're not familiar with a simmer pot, I'm going to make a big video about like simmer pots, bell jars, all that at some point. But simmer pot is basically what it sounds like. It's a pot, glass, metal, depending on your belief. A pot you fill with water. It can be water, it can be moon water where you charge it in the moonlight. You fill it with water and you fill it with herbs, and fruits, vegetables, anything you want to use for the magical intentions. You can also add essential oils to it. Like the disclaimer, always make sure to do research before doing these kind of things, because some essential oils aggravate things. But yeah, you add them all to this pot and then you bring it to a simmer and you let it simmer throughout the day, however long it takes to empty the pot. You can add more water to it if it starts getting low and you want to like keep letting it simmer. So the simmer pot you know, the steam fills your house, and the whole purpose is to basically simmer that energy into your home, or help like cleanse things out. So that's what a simmer pot is, really briefly. So I like to do a simmer pot with lavender mixed with like lemon slices and rose petals. Both of those are really good for cleansing and just bringing like uplifting energy into the home. So that's why I like to combine it with those. So I do a simmer pot to cleanse my space and to bring a peaceful energy into my home, especially anytime that I'm going through like, you know, I'm moody. I do a lot of simmer pots in the winter area because, you know, the sads, the seasonal depression. Like, I just want to clear that energy out. I don't want it to stick inside my house. I also really like to add lavender to healing candles whenever I'm working to release, got my notes, release some tough emotions. So I do, you know, a lot of trauma work in my therapy. So sometimes I'll either light a lavender incense in the background, or if I don't want the incense because they can be pretty strong, I light a candle with some lavender on it. Now you could take a tea light candle. I think I have one of those here too. Do I? I do. So you could take a tea light candle and pop the candle out. Some of them are harder to get out. These ones from Walgreens are really easy to pop out. And put the lavender in the bottom of the tea light candle and put the candle back on it and light it. And, well, you know, you would set your intentions and all that before doing all that. But you would put it that way and light it so it brings that, you know, peaceful energy, that healing energy into your home. And that's what I really like to do with lavender whenever I am working through some stuff or have a lot of anxiety. You know, if something big is coming up and I'm just in my head about it, I really like to do a lavender candle. Or you dress a candle with lavender, where you like anoint it with oil and you roll it in the lavender, or sprinkle the lavender on it. Now granted, always beware, don't put too much herbs on your candles or it might catch on fire. Like, I haven't had like a big problem with it, and sometimes I put a lot, but just be mindful. And if you have one of these jar candles, you can heat up the top of them. You can use a hair dryer or a heat gun, whatever you got, and sprinkle some of the herbs in the top of the wax so that they kind of get into the wax, so that when you light the candle, they're already soaked and they won't catch on fire. So yeah. And one other way that I really like to use lavender is to bring peaceful energy and releasing tension into a relationship. If I'm having like relationship problems, or like nothing severe, I wouldn't like say lavender would solve like a really, really big kind of thing. But if there's like tension, you know, some passive aggressiveness between me and like a friend, or you could even do this with coworkers, I would take one of those tea light candles and put the lavender in it and just set the intention of easing some of the tension in the relationship. I found that works really good. I usually do that with friends and between me and my partner. We don't fight very much, but you know, sometimes you just get annoyed by people and you just need to kind of recalibrate those feelings. So those are my favorite ways to use lavender in my witchcraft. So yeah, let's move on. So the next herb that we're going to discuss today is cinnamon. Cinnamon sticks or ground cinnamon. That goes for other herbs too. You can use their different forms, but I had this closest to me. As you can see, I have used the majority of my cinnamon. So cinnamon is really good for money and abundance magic. You've probably seen the videos that go around like every month of blowing cinnamon through your front door on the first of the month to attract abundance. And that is because, yeah, cinnamon is really good for money and abundant magic. The magical keywords for cinnamon are success, love, abundance, prosperity, spirituality and spiritual development, and protection. So some common examples of using cinnamon in magic are the blowing cinnamon through your front door on the first of the month. I suggest specifying what kind of abundance you want when you do that, if you choose to do that, because, you know, abundance doesn't automatically mean money. You know, abundance is a kind of neutral word. So just specify what kind of abundance you want if you want to do something like that. You can also add or you can attract money with that, love with that as well. So if you want like more love in your life, you know, cinnamon said it's like good for love too. So you can attract more love into your life with it. You can also add cinnamon to spell jars or candles if you want to attract love. You would just take a jar and any other herbs that you would want to add to it, or any kind of like, you could put a piece of paper on there with your specific intentions written on it, with some cinnamon, either the ground cinnamon or a cinnamon stick broken up, and put it in a jar. Or on the candle, you could sprinkle some cinnamon around it with the oil method, like I said, with the lavender, and do that to attract love, or do that for money magic. You know, either way, you would just set the intention before you do it, because the herb needs some direction on how you're going to be using it. And you can also add cinnamon to jars, candles, or infuse it into an oil to help you with spiritual development or psychic development. It could, you know, you would infuse an oil by adding cinnamon to the oil, cinnamon sticks or ground cinnamon. If you're going to do ground cinnamon, you might want to strain it after a while. But you would add it to the oil, grapeseed oil, olive oil. There are other oils too. Do your research on which one you'd want to use. And I think almond oil is another one that I have up here. And yeah, add it in there, let it infuse for, I would say, at least 2 weeks to really absorb it. And then, yeah, after that, you can strain it, or you can leave the herb in there if it doesn't bother you. And you can use that for spiritual or psychic development or any other intention that you place into it. But if you were doing it for like psychic development, you might want to like dab some on your third eye. You might want to just dab some on your wrists when you're about to like work on tarot cards or doing any other kind of divination. So yeah, those are some common uses of cinnamon in magic. I personally primarily use cinnamon in money spells. It's my favorite way to work with cinnamon, but I also use it in simmer pots for like bringing like a loving energy into my house. Like cinnamon just smells very comforting and cozy to me. So I like to mix it with apples and cinnamon and lavender in a simmer pot and just let it simmer in my house, and the house smells really good. And it just like gives me that like cozy, happy feeling. So, and personally, I don't like to blow cinnamon through my front door. I know it's really popular, but I don't like the mess. I have carpet in front of my front door. So, and I have a cat. So I just don't like to blow the cinnamon through my door and have to worry about cleaning it up. So personally, I take one of these cinnamon sticks, and usually they're thick enough that you can write on them. So I write my intention on it. So usually I'm just trying to attract like money or love, you know, prosperity. And I put that cinnamon stick on the top of my door frame instead of blowing it through the door. I put it on the top of my door frame, and I refresh it whenever I feel like I need to, which is typically either monthly or every other month. Sometimes I'll just take it and kind of like re-infuse it with intentions, cleanse it a little bit if I feel like it's getting kind of stagnant. So that's my favorite ways to work with cinnamon. And money candles. I really like to like carve a money symbol into a candle, put some oil on it and sprinkle cinnamon over it. And then like rub the cinnamon into it so it kind of highlights the money symbol with the cinnamon. That's my favorite ways to use cinnamon in my personal magic. A PS with the simmer pot with the apples. Apples can be used for love and healing as well. So that's why I like to combine that with the cinnamon. So next, switching gears a little bit, we have Nettle Leaf. I have a nice thick baggie here of that, which is a strong guardian herb and my personal favorite protection herb. So some magical keywords for Nettle Leaf are protection, healing, cleansing, and like return to senders. I'm sorry, my cat has decided to enter the room. It can also be used for exorcisms, but I don't think anyone watching this video is going to be performing exorcisms. At least I do not recommend it if you're like a beginner that's not in your league. But anyway, some potential uses for Nettle Leaf in magic are to add it to a poppet or a spell baggie to carry for protection and assisting in returning malicious energies. If you don't know what a poppet is, it's like a little stuffed person, not like a voodoo doll, although I guess it kind of looks like a voodoo doll, but the purpose is more so to just be like a physical representation of yourself or whoever you would be adding the protection for, or whatever else you would do with it. But yeah, so you could carry those, or you could even have like a little spell jar that you carry with you. You could also plant or sprinkle nettle around your house, like around the outside of your house to protect your home. I have not done that because I am not very good at like gardening, but sprinkling it probably would be easier. You could also add it to your spiritual baths to cleanse and purify yourself more thoroughly than you would like with the lavender. I just think like nettle has a stronger kind of protection to it. I mean, it can be used for exorcism. So like, I think it's just a really good herb that if you really feel like you've had something stuck to you, you could cleanse yourself with that. Personally, I really like to use nettle leaf in my protection and return to sender work. I add nettle leaf to protection jars, small ones that I carry with me, like I mentioned earlier, or in a larger one that I keep like in my house for home protection. I also add it to candles anytime that I'm doing protection, banishing, or return to sender work. So I would do the oil method, like I mentioned before. I even have a protection oil that I've made that I think has, well, it has nettle leaf in it. So I douse. This Mercury retrograde has me so messed up with talking, but I douse the candle in some of the protection oil that I made. And then I put some extra herb, nettle leaf herb on top of it if I'm doing like a protection, a banishing, or a return to sender. I've also used it by itself in all of these works, so you don't have to combine it with anything, but I really do like to combine it with like agrimony, which is also really good for protection. And yeah, you would just add a carrier oil or heat up the top of the candle like I mentioned before, sprinkle it on there. And I have also burnt it in like a cauldron. I have a cauldron here. You can, any other fire safe bowl would be good, but I have burnt it in the cauldron and walked it around my home to cleanse my home the same way you would do that with like sage, Palo Santo. Like again, I just think nettle leaf, I mean, its nickname is literally like stinging nettle. It's a really good protection herb. So like if you really need to up your protections, I would recommend working with nettle leaf. And next we have mugwort. I have a giant bag of it because again, it's one of the favorite herbs that I work with. I got this on Amazon, I'm pretty sure. So you might have heard of mugwort tea if you've been, you know, in the witchy community for a little bit, and it's just a tea infusion that people make to kind of induce like psychic visions or prophetic dreams. So the magical keywords for mugwort are strength, psychic powers, protection, healing, and astral projection. So more common uses for mugwort are the tea infusion, like I mentioned. You would just, you know, make it like a regular tea, boil some water, put it in a little tea baggie, steep it in the water. I have heard it is strong. I have not personally done it myself, so just Google about that, how much to use. And if you don't want to drink it, but you still want to use it for the psychic work, you could also add it to a baggie and put it under your pillow so that when you sleep, it's there, you know, doing its work. And you could also work with it if you do want to drink it before like a meditation, if you want to try to induce some like meditative messages, that would be a good time to do that. And if you put it under your pillow, it could also help you in achieving astral projection. You could also add your mugwort to cleaning infusions. So like cleaning your house, you know, mixing it with some water. Again, look for interactions. And you can use it to cleanse your divination tools. So you can, you know, do like a little wipe down of your crystal balls, of your wands, of mirrors, and any other tools that, you know, don't hurt to get wet. To add that extra protection element to it as well. And you can even wipe down anything else in your house if you want to add like protection to it. I think I would probably wipe down my door, like to protect my doorway from anything. So that's just my thought. So for me, I primarily use mugwort in spiritual protection, but I also really like to use it in healing work and just generally connecting with my spiritual team. So I have burnt mugwort whenever my mom's death anniversary passed around and my dad's. I burnt some mugwort and wrote a letter to them and put it in the mugwort fire and just kind of connected with them that way. I have not drunk it like I've said, but I have added it to smoking blends. I usually mix it with lavender and mullein leaf, and I would smoke it before bed to kind of induce more vivid dreams, because I personally tend to get more messages in my dreams than like in the day-to-day, at least that I notice. And I've also burnt mugwort down to its ashes to add to salt to make black salt for protection in spells. So black salt would just be like something that you add around your spells or around anything else that you want to protect. So those are my favorite ways to use mugwort. Like I said, good for protection, healing, and what not. If you do smoke it, it tastes kind of nasty. I'm just gonna say it has like a really earthy taste. To me it tastes like dirt. But mixing like the lavender in there and like other carrier herbs that are safe to smoke, like the mullein leaf, help kind of bring it down, because you really don't need a lot of mugwort for it to work, and you don't want to smoke it too often. I know that. So yeah, that's mugwort. So last but not least, we have rose petals. I literally got this from the craft store, so I wouldn't recommend consuming it, but it's still rose petals. So I think rose is up there with lavender and cinnamon in terms of popularity, especially in mundane uses. Like I know, we give roses to people to show our love and appreciation. We have roses in a lot of beauty products. So yeah. The magical property keywords for rose petals are love, divination, healing, beauty or glamour magic, and luck. So some common ways to use rose petals are obviously for attracting love. You could put rose petals in a poppet or another spell baggie or jar that you carry with you. You could add it to a candle. I would recommend white, pink, or red for attracting love. You could also add rose petals to your bath to increase your self-love or feeling more attractive overall. And it's also a protective herb. I think that that's glossed over a lot because, obviously, like, we don't usually think about beauty and protection together. But, I mean, think about a rose. They have thorns. It is a protective herb, so you can use that in your baths, jars, simmer pots with the intention of cleansing and protecting yourself or your space. So I don't personally do a lot of love spells, but I love working with rose. I'm personally Venus rolled. I'm a Libra rising, so that could be why I really love working with rose petals. But I honestly add rose petals to like almost all of my spells, like even if it's just a sprinkle, because I sprinkle it in there and I'm like, for an extra layer of loving protection. Like that's the way that I like to use it, is loving protection. Add a little more love to this, I just feel like it's a really good way to get that, like, I don't know, loving protection, comforting protection. My cat is in the room again. So that's the ways that I like to use herbs. It's also really good for self-love. I made a self-love oil with rose, and I think I also put lavender in there. There might have been one other thing that I can't remember right now, but it's really good for self-love and attracting self-love. And self-love is very fundamental in, healing work. Self-love, I mean, I'm no expert. Like I don't got top tier self-love, but it's very good to work on. The stronger your self-love, the stronger that you take care of yourself, the stronger that you have firm boundaries, and the less you compare yourself to others. Like self-love is that girl. So rose would be really good to add to self-love oils or self-love baths to help increase your self-love, help you, feel more confident, feel more in touch with yourself. And I also use that oil to help me whenever I charm my self-love bracelets, because if you didn't know, I make charmed spell bracelets. This is my protection and grounding one. This one is unreleased. But I have a self-love one that I infuse with the intention of helping people increase their self-love. And so yeah, that is the ways that I really like to use roses and all of the other herbs. So that concludes my list of my favorite herbs and ways to use them. I will eventually be making a video that goes more in depth on the things I mentioned, like spell jars, anointing candles, poppets. I know that was a lot of words that, you know, beginners may not be very familiar with. But let me get into some book recommendations if you want to keep researching herbs for magical uses. So first up, we have one that you may have seen already, is the Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs by Scott Cunningham. This book is pretty straightforward. It is an encyclopedia of the herbs and their magical uses. Super good reference book. It does have like a beginning part that kind of briefly discusses like baths, poppets, oils, sachets, infusions, you know, little bit of information. That nothing super in-depth, but enough for you to like get an understanding. And it also has, I have it bookmarked back here, elemental rollers. Where's the one page? A quick little glossary, like, come on, if you needed to figure out some herbs to use for specific things, that they're like different sections for common uses. That was lust. Manifestations, meditation, mental powers, etc. Really good basic book to start with. Very straightforward. If you want some more like information on connecting with the herbs, some moon phase stuff, working with them, recognizing plant spirits, and some spell recommendations, Plant Witchery by Juliette Diaz. Yeah, this book, I will list them all in my description, is really good for those things. Like I said, it also has kind of like the glossary, not glossary, encyclopedia of like herbs throughout it, and you know, gives their essential properties, which is the keywords, their medicine uses, their magical properties, and plant wisdom, like what these herbs usually are trying to communicate with us. But yeah, it has a good starter of like how to develop a relationship with plants, and daily practice is for connecting with plants. The area with some moon phase stuff. And just some like spells sprinkled throughout it, like here's one: juniper berry dirt to ward off evil. It would give like a little example spell you can do with these herbs. Not every single one has that, but they're sprinkled throughout, and it says like what they have. And there is also a area in the back with just a quick reference guide. So if you wanted like a healing herb, there's like a list here with all the herbs for healing. I feel so like goofy flipping. I highly recommend that one though. She is indigenous and just has a lot of good stuff about working with the herbs. So my final book recommendation that I'm actually still in the process of reading, but it seems like a pretty good resource so far, is the Herbal Alchemist's Handbook by Karen Harrison. And this one is less of an encyclopedia. Like there's only a short area through it about the herbs and their uses. I can't even find it. Where is it? There it is. Like they're a lot smaller than the other ones. This one is more so if you've been working with herbs for a little bit, you're not like a beginner, or if you really want to learn. And it has sections on like planetary association, so the herbs of the sun, personal power, the herbs of the moon, the herbs of Mars, like all of the planets and herbs that are associated with it. And then it has a section for making magical incense, ritual oils, bath salts, herbal amulets, and elixirs. And then it also has another area about combining planetary and elemental influences. So like using astrology to work with the herbs and like pick out your herbs. Again, like I'm still reading it, but it looks pretty good. So that is all I have for you today. I'm sorry that I was stuttering a good bit and that my words were a bit jumbled, but thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I just ask that you please like, comment, or subscribe to support my channel. And feel free to leave any questions or video suggestions below, and I'll hopefully see you next time. So have a good one.